Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of On the Mark here on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15, 89.5 FM WSKB, and now Southwick Community Programming as well. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach, and today we have a program with people who have cool hobbies. And my first guest this morning is Bess Hochstein, who is a writer and a marketer who I work with at the Berkshire Film and Media Collaborative. But those people who get to know Bess and follow her on Facebook get to see almost every day either food items that she has cooked from things that she's grown in her garden, or photographs of her garden, or videos of the garden, and her foraging and all of that. So you are the ultimate Berkshire's gardener in my book.
Oh, no, I'm far from that. I'm seeing things on Facebook from other people that just make me jealous. I'm a functional vegetable gardener, and I would call myself a beginner at that, even though I'm getting better every year.
Yeah, I mean, you're a city kid. You grew up in New York City. When did the garden bug hit you, and when did you start doing this?
Oh, so I actually grew up in Tenafly, New Jersey, which is a suburb of New York City. And my dad, we had a tiny little backyard, and my dad was always growing tomatoes and basil, and that was it. But as soon as we moved out, I spent time in New York and Boston, and as soon as we moved out to the Berkshires, I said, we have to grow up our own food. And, you start small and you try, you see what works. And eventually you become pretty good at it if you the conditions being right. Like this year was a terrible year because of all the rain. So when last year I was drowning in tomatoes, this year my tomato harvest was terrible.
The food that you grow, do you cook it for yourself? Do you give it away, or do you put it up for the winter months?
Oh, so all of the above. Last year, as I said, we were drowning in tomatoes, and I gave so many away. And I roasted a ton of them and froze them so I could have fresh roasted tomatoes all winter long. Same with the basil. We gave a lot away. And we also preserved a lot. I like to just sort of make a pre-pesto. I just throw the basil with some olive oil, a little salt and lemon in the Cuisinart and make a paste. And my new trick is to freeze it, not in ice cube trays, because you can do that. And then you have, an easy chunk that you can use. But this year and last, I did them in Ziploc bags, really thin and flat, so that whenever I needed it, I could just break off a chunk. And done. Got my basil. Winter.
That's cool. I've got a couple of basil plants growing. I don't know what kind they are. They're not like exotic or anything like that. But that season to me seems to be, as we're chatting now on the 13th of October, basil season is history.
Well, last night I went out and grabbed a few leaves. I thought I had done my last harvest a couple of weeks ago, and then we've had this 70-degree weather. And I said, I actually harvested a whole thing of cherry tomatoes. And I said, I'm going to make a cherry tomato sauce. And I grabbed as much basil as I needed. It was fine. I don't know if I'll have it next week, but it was fine this week.
When you started gardening, what did you start with, and what's your proudest crop that you've been able to grow?
Okay, so you start with the basics: tomatoes, basil, and zucchini. You can't not grow zucchini, although we didn't have a good zucchini year this year. I think that what I love to do and what I'm proudest of is experimentation. This year we had great Thai basil, which is a spice you can't, it's an herb you can't find fresh around here. So we grew a lot. I grew so much of that I was able to give some of that away too. And we love, I gotta say, growing garlic. It's people think that's hard, and it's super easy. You just it's about time, getting close to time to plant it now, and then in July you've got garlic. And I think we did 160 cloves, so we have a lot of garlic, but half of that is going back into the ground to grow for next year.
What's your track record with potatoes? And the reason I bring that up is a lot of my friends know I brought a potato home from the nursery, a small sweet potato. And my cohort in crime, Math Man, and I planted it. And it has grown to the point that it has spread. It's in the front of the condos, and it is spread among 3 condos. It is growing in leaps and bounds. And I've been told, I mean, it's the biggest sweet potato. It has friends that stop by to check on its progress and all of that. It has aunts and uncles that visit it regularly. It's been on Facebook and all of that. And now it comes to the push comes to shove, because we don't know what to do with it come first frost, which according to the Farmer's Almanac will be like at the end of October.
So, well, let's make a distinction. We grow both white potatoes, like standard potatoes, not sweet potatoes, but, savory potatoes, I guess we call them. And of that, we grow some red ones and we grow some purple ones. And we had an okay potato crop this year. Again, because of the rain, it was problematic. But like you, for the first time this year, I tried to go and do some sweet potatoes. Mine are Japanese purple sweet potatoes. And I've never done them before. I ordered these things called slips, which looked like a bunch of grass. They said, plant them very far apart. I planted them in one of my raised beds, and only 2 of them survived. But like you, they're spread all over the place. And it's fascinating. Also, are yours making beautiful flowers? Mine are making beautiful purple flowers.
No, because you have to have multiples for that, I guess. Like you have to have a boy plant and a girl plant. That's, all that basic stuff that they don't teach you. Parents never tell you. You have to learn on the street when you garden.
Right.
But I had a previous sweet potato that did flower, and the flowers were blue. This one has not flowered. So I don't know whether there are little sweet potatoes under the earth, or this one is really more for ornamental sake.
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, because there are ornamental sweet potato vine. The ones that we have, we're going to have sweet potatoes. When we're going to have them, I'm not exactly sure, because this again is an experiment for us. And I know, I said, oh, I love these purple sweet Japanese purple sweet potatoes, and I'm going to try and grow them. So I hope they grow. I don't know when to harvest them quite yet. My husband Kip says you do it when the leaves start to die off. But he also thinks that there's a way to preserve some of them so that they'll grow next year. Like you said, maybe you bring some into the house. We got to do a lot of more research, but until then, I can't wait to harvest them.
Yeah.
Other thing, what? Go ahead.
We were told that you could take clippings of the vine and put them in water, and then they'll root, and you can plant them in the house, or you can pull the entire thing up and keep the root dry and store it in a cool, dry place, and then plant it again. It'll sprout and then plant it again in the spring. All I can say is that the foliage, the vines, the leaves are this beautiful spring color of green. And what I've learned is that as the season progresses during the year, you have that spring green, which becomes a deeper green. And now as foliage season is here, it's a dull green. But these stay that beautiful spring green, and they just continue to grow and grow. They'll intertwine with other plants. They're not afraid of anything. So they've attacked a rose bush and a butterfly bush and some other things. In their quest, they're climbing the walls of the kind of, I'm just like astounded. I should have brought a photograph to show on the air, but I didn't.
Well, I did bring something to show on the air, and here it is mid-October, and I harvested this beautiful tomato last night. This is an heirloom tomato. Came right out of what I call my original garden. Cherry tomatoes are hardier, so I expected, to have a few of them. We had a ton of them. But I was not expecting that we'd have an heirloom grow, especially because daylight is so much shorter. I also did another experiment this year. And, it's just Kip and myself in our house. So big watermelons never work. This is called a baby doll watermelon. And I have already harvested one. We have 4 more growing. And they are super sweet. They're not seedless. That's the only thing wrong with them, but they're just the right size for 2 people. And they also make a crazy vine. It was, I guess, midsummer, late summer, and I didn't know what to plant because I'd pulled up my gem lettuces and I had some space. And I said, oh, I'll go see what starts there are. And I saw these baby doll watermelon starts. I said, I'll try that. Never did that. And it was a good experiment. There are some things I can't grow, like fava beans. For some reason, I have no success with fava beans.
I'm not sure I'm ready to go that far in experimentation, but there are these little there's a really wonderful Japanese restaurant that we go to, and they have these grilled small peppers. And you can't find them in the supermarkets. They're shishito peppers.
Shishito peppers. I just happen to have one.
Wow.
That's funny.
Wow. That's something that I would like to grow at some point because I really enjoy grilling them.
These grow very easily. And, they need, like anything like a pepper, they need a lot of sun. But they're prolific. The plants are prolific. I have a bowl full here, and I have more still growing outside, again, because of this freakishly warm weather. And I have a batch that I think I'm going to grill up tonight.
So how do you cook or cook and serve those particular kind of peppers?
So shishito peppers, I take my cast iron pan, I heat it up good and hot, and I throw a little olive oil in there, and you just let them blister. That's what they're called, blistered shishitos. And then when they're done, just a little flaky salt on top. That's all you need, the simplest thing in the world. You can get fancy and add other spices, but it's not necessary.
Well, they're the most delicious peppers I've ever had. I mean, I just think they're fantastic.
You should grow a plant next year.
I will. Maybe I can get one to grow among 5 condos as opposed to the sweet potato that's maxing out at 3.
Well, I will say get your seeds early because so many people started gardening because of COVID. Some seeds are hard to find, and I've heard from a lot of people that they were not finding shishito seeds.
Do you spend a lot of time in the garden?
I spent a lot less this year. Last year, of course, it was COVID and my work shut down. So I had all the time in the world to spend in the garden. This year, there's planting, there's weeding, there's a time when you're not doing too much of anything. But I had less time to spend in there because, as you know, I've been working with Berkshire Film and Media Collaborative, and we've had a lot of work promoting this Youth Film Challenge.
Right, we're both involved with Berkshire Film and Media Collaborative, and this Youth Film Challenge that you're working on is really a wonderful project. And earlier this year, Diane Perlman came on my Arts Beat program to talk about that at length. So at this point in time, the entries for the program have to be in by the 1st of November. What's the response been? This is a program for young filmmakers from the ages of 16 to 24 who get to
14 to 24.
14 to 24, who get to make a really short video on their phones about a social issue that is of concern to them and submit them. And the winners receive cash prizes. So, Bess, how many kids have turned stuff in?
Well, we're still waiting because we're partners in this project. Berkshire Film and Media is partners with a group called Civic Life Project, and they've done these kind of youth film challenges for presidential elections, and they tell us that all the kids procrastinate, that we're not really going to see a lot of entries until the very, very last minute. So we're holding our breath, but we do have people who have done applications. And because we want this challenge to be accessible to all people, we are giving applicants $50 when they submit their film toward their production costs. And if kids don't have a camera, we will give them a camera. And Berkshire Film and Media covers Western Massachusetts, but this film challenge covers Berkshire County, Columbia County, Northwest Connecticut, so Northwest Litchfield County, and Northeast Dutchess County. So it's a big range, and there's a lot of schools in there. It could cover public schools and private schools and some colleges too, since the age limit is 24.
So if there is somebody listening who is interested in making a film or video, all the details would be available at berkshirefilm.org.
Also, we have a special website set up called youthfilmchallenge.com. So all you have to do is remember the Youth Film Challenge.
Yeah. So what other things are Berkshire Film and Media doing this fall besides the challenge?
Well, we have a lot of productions going on right now. One just wrapped up in Pittsfield. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of it, but that was big, and they had some special effects. There's a young man in North Adams who has a little horror movie that we just put up on our Facebook page. It's a cute little short thriller, and all shot in North Adams. And we have the director, Matthew Penn, is going to be making a short in the fall. So lots of filmmaking going on. We also have Diane Perlman, our executive director, is working on creating a fully state-of-the-art, gee whiz bang, bells and whistles production facility that will be an educational facility as well.
And that's scheduled to be on the Shakespeare and Company campus in Lenox.
Right. So the feasibility studies are going on, and the feasibility studies are oriented not toward if it will happen, but what will the revenue streams be.
Yeah. So a lot of good things go. You're busy between Berkshire Film and Media and the fall harvest.
Yeah, I didn't even show you my jalapenos.
Yeah, I want to see those.
Food. So those are the jalapenos, all of them. And I never got any red ones. So as long as the longer they sit around, some of them turn red, but they're beautiful. And I'm going to make, I don't know if you've ever had do you like spicy food, Mark?
I happen to personally love spicy food. I'm the only one in my house that does.
Well, you should come and get some jalapenos. We are trying this year, we're going to try to replicate the Trader Joe's creamy jalapeno sauce. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's my favorite sauce, and and as you know, I'm vegan, and it doesn't have any cream in it. It's all plant-based. So I've been looking up some recipes and trying to figure out how to reverse engineer that sauce because it's my favorite sauce.
Since you're vegan and you're growing all of your own vegetables, I would assume that you've been able to come up with some fascinating recipes, off the beaten track kind of stuff, because we're all looking for a variety in our diets. And it's more difficult to make kind of really great things when you're vegan and have to not use dairy or meat, or, and you're restricted in certain ways. So where do you go for your recipes and your inspiration to cook?
Mostly, there's some very, very good vegan online sites. The New York Times is running a lot of good vegan recipes lately. And, one talks about the restrictions of having a plant-based diet, but it's even more than that because Kip is gluten-free. He gets very sick when he eats any gluten. So it's not just plant-based, it's like no wheat and things. So we really do have to get creative. And sometimes you find good substitutes. Like last night, I told you I made the fresh cherry tomato pasta sauce. And I could have done it because we grew zucchinis. I could have made zucchini noodles. I don't know if you've ever tried them, where you have a spiralizer and you make noodles out of the zucchini. They look just like spaghetti. But he was ready to go for pasta, so I had to find, we have a closet full of food from COVID, and we found our gluten-free pasta, and I just used that substitute instead of making something.
You talk about a spiralizer. I mean, I've seen people do it with zucchini, and I never mention sweet potato recipes in front of the plant. I just feel it's just not the right thing to do, but I understand you can make a great pasta from carrots and from sweet potatoes and all of that.
Yes, you can use those as they're great as in a pad thai. You can make a noodle-free pad thai and just use vegetable strands. And the spiralizer is a cheap plastic tool. You just stick the zucchini in there, and you have this little thing that you turn, and it just shoots out really long strands of whatever vegetable you're doing. Yeah, carrots, zucchini, you could do.
And everybody that has an overdose of zucchini in their garden and doesn't know what to do with them, it's a great way to turn it into something you wouldn't normally use. We're going to take a quick break, Bess, to acknowledge the underwriters that make On the Mark possible. We're going to be back with Bess Hochstein. We'll talk more about gardens and film and all that good stuff after we acknowledge the underwriters that make this program possible on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 and now Southwick Community Programming, as well as 89.5 FM WSKB. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach, and we'll return in just a moment.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Bay State Dental. Comprehensive dentistry at 14 convenient locations in Springfield, Chicopee, Longmeadow, West Springfield, Belchertown, East Longmeadow, Ludlow, Northampton, Greenfield, and Wilbraham, as well as 29 Broad Street in Westfield. Bay State Dental makes it a priority to help you achieve and maintain the healthy smile you deserve. On the web at baystatedental.com.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. If you've missed a part of today's program or you want to replay it, it's stored in the archives on WSKB Community Radio's YouTube page. My guest this first half hour is Bess Hochstein, who is a gardener, a cook, but in her day job at the Berkshire Film and Media Collaborative. And Bess, when are you going to make a movie about your garden?
I'm never going to make a movie. People ask me, are you going to write a cookbook? No, I think, no. I'm good at adapting recipes, but I'm using other people's recipes as the base for what I do.
Yeah, we only have a short time, but there's a question I've been wanting to ask you. You came up here to the Berkshires, and then you and your husband moved out to the West Coast to Sonoma County, and then turned around and came back to the Berkshires in the last couple of years. What is it about Western Massachusetts that drew you here in the first place and brought you back?
Well, I can't think of a more beautiful rural place that has so much culture. You and I guess we're both culture vultures, and we love the theater. I love the dance in particular, Jacob's Pillow. I love going to Tanglewood. And there's just so much culture here. Sonoma was a gorgeous place to live. And yes, you've got the beach and you've got the wineries, you've got viticulture instead of culture. But there was never a night where I said, oh, I have to go see this. I would have to, if you wanted to see like really great culture, you could drive into San Francisco. But here in a typical summer, which we haven't had for the past couple of years because of COVID, every night there's something to do. And even now in the off period, Saturday, I'm going up to Massamoka for an opening and a performance. And just to have that combination of the gorgeous outdoors and all the culture, and also a really great progressive population of people. The community here is wonderful. Also, it's closer to my mom, and she's in New York City, and I like to see my mom more often than flying in from California.
Yeah, you started doing some theater writing this summer. Something which I do all the time, and you've been developing that side of your career. Where are you writing these days?
Well, that's for an online global magazine called Splash. But I have written about theater before because I used to be the editor of Rural Intelligence. So I sort of wore a lot of hats there, where I was doing dance review as well as the very, very occasional, not too often, theater review, restaurant reviews, or restaurant features. So basically, I call my beat everything that makes life good.
Yeah, and around here, there's so many things to write about and report on that are good things.
Yeah, so many people doing interesting things. There's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit here, and a lot of people doing things to make the world a better place, like we're hoping to do with this Youth Film Challenge.
Well, we've only got a second here, so if people want to learn more about the film challenge, give us the details.
So they should go to www.youthfilmchallenge.com or berkshirefilm.com or berkshirefilm.org. And they should look out because we're also doing a series of free workshops led by professional filmmakers online. So, and they're not limited to people who are participating in the challenge. They're open to people who are doing, who just want to learn how to make films. So they're beginner level. There's a bunch of videos of past workshops on the Berkshire Film site or the Youth Film Challenge site. And they could take a look and get some skills.
Well, Bess Hochstein, thanks for joining us this morning on The Mark. It's been a pleasure to chat. I can't wait till our paths cross in person. And here's to a great rest of the harvest season and planning for our 2022 gardens.
And good luck with your sweet potatoes.
Thank you. We'll be back after these.
Me.
Thanks for being here, Bess. We'll be back after these messages with some more on The Mark. Don't go away.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by Westfield Bank. For more than 160 years, Westfield Bank has been an important community presence and commercial leader in the Pioneer Valley. With convenient full banking services in Westfield, West Springfield, East Longmeadow, Agawam, Feeding Hills, Springfield, Southwick, as well as Enfield and Granby, Connecticut, visit us on the web at westfieldbank.org.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer today. We're broadcasting from Studio 120 on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15, 89.5 FM WSKB, and our new partner, Southwick Community Programming. I have as our guest this half hour Will Baczek, and he's been on this program before because the William Baczek Fine Arts Gallery in Northampton is really a showcase for many of our region's finest artists, and right now has an exhibit of works by Ryan Landry. But one of the things that I discovered about Will, because we're friends and we post all of our activities on Facebook, is Will has got a side hustle and he's a soap maker. I never met somebody who made soap before. So Will, welcome to On the Mark in wearing a different hat with soap bubbles all around.
Good morning, Mark.
How are you? So how did you get into making soaps?
It's pretty recent. Back in May, I was reading an article in the New York Times about a mother and daughter who made soap together. And it was one of those pretty detailed, interactive New York Times online articles, and there were video accompaniments. And I was fascinated by it, and I was watching the videos, and I thought to myself, I could do this. And so I started doing some research, and I joined a couple Facebook groups, and I've watched thousands of hours of Facebook or YouTube tutorials, and taught myself how to do it with the help of a lot of more experienced soapers.
So I know because you post pictures of every new, I guess they're called batches of soap.
Yeah.
Every new batch that you create and come up with, you're posting photographs to Facebook. You seem to be doing a different batch every couple of days.
Yeah, it's there's all these different techniques. You can make a very plain batch of soap with 100% olive oil in it. That's Castile soap. But you can also start adding skin safe pigments and skin safe scents. And my art background comes in because you start mixing colors and you start creating patterns in the soap batter. And it's a lot of fun, and you can be really creative doing it. And when you get in the shower and you pick up a bar of soap that you've made yourself and it behaves really beautifully and smells good and makes nice suds, it's one of those moments in life that, instead of just picking up a bar of soap that you bought in the supermarket, it makes you feel good for a little bit.
What's in a bar of soap? I mean, I see them every day. I use soap. I tend to use body washes more than soap, but I grew up with Ivory soap, and there was in every. What's in soap?
In its most basic ingredient, soap is lye and oil. And that's how soap is made. Lye is a very, very caustic base, the opposite of acid. And you mix it with oils, and the lye molecules bond with the fat molecules in the oils, and they become a third thing. Through a process called saponification, it becomes soap. And so basically, soap is just lye and different oils, and different oils have different fat contents. So you have to enter the oils that you're using into a soap calculator, and it tells you exactly how much lye to use. And by exactly, that's very, very important, because lye is caustic. I have to measure to 1/100th of an ounce to get a safe, nice bar of soap.
So from a scientific thing, is it the combination of the lye and the oil that causes all the great bubbles?
Well, the bubbles is caused by different fats. Lard makes really nice bubbles. Coconut oil makes nice bubbles and hardness. Different oils contribute. Shea butter is very nice for conditioning. Coconut oil is a nice oil, but it will rinse off a protective layer of oil from your skin. So coconut oil is a nice ingredient, but you have to add super fat oils that are more conditioning so it doesn't strip your skin.
And you work with a variety of scents.
Yeah.
When you're mixing that vat of the lye and the oil, are you using perfumes? Are you using flowers, natural scents? And how do you figure out the percentages so that bar of soap smells fantastic?
You enter that all into a calculator, because this is stuff that goes on your body. Soap stays on your body anywhere from 30 seconds to 3 minutes on average, but you want to make sure that the ingredients, you don't want to put all things that you get from the garden will rot inside of a bar of soap if it sits in your shower for a month. So you have to I get all the ingredients from major soap making supply places online. All of the fragrances are either essential oils, which is derived directly from the plants and fruit, or they're fragrance oils, which are chemically reproduced essential oils. And all of the colors that I use are cosmetic grade pigments, which means they're formulated to be in ladies' makeup. To say those are stay-on colors, meaning you put eye makeup on, it stays on your eyes. You put lipstick on, it stays on your lips. I use the same pigments that they use for makeup, so it's cosmetic grade. The only grade better than cosmetic grade is food grade, which means you can ingest it, and obviously we're not going to be eating the soap. So
nobody puts soap in their mouth unless they're being punished for saying those words you can't say on radio and TV, right?
Once or twice.
Yeah. So when you make the soap, you had posted something on Facebook not long ago that you made a bar. It was a tray that you were going to cut into bars, but it had to rest a certain period of time. From the day that you make the soap until you can actually use it, what time period is that?
4 to 6 weeks it takes to cure. So I made a batch of soap last night. It's sitting in the mold right now. It'll take 24 to 36 hours to harden enough to be able to remove from the mold. Then I very carefully cut it into pieces, and then I put it on drying racks. And from that time, it takes 4 to 6 weeks for all of the water to evaporate. And while the water evaporates, crystals are forming inside the soap, and it's becoming soap.
So now that you've been doing this for several months, have you actually had a chance to test your product?
Yeah.
And some of it. How does it compare to either the specialty soaps you buy, in a store, or versus the supermarket soaps?
They don't compare at all to supermarket soaps. I mean, I don't want to name any brands, but there are certain brands that are very, very smelly, and you get out of the shower and you still smell like that bar of soap. That's not good. Soap is a wash-off product. You want everything to wash off of you. Here's a bar of soap that I made a week or so ago.
Wow.
Depending on like goat's milk soap, feels a lot slipperier. It feels a lot creamier. You can feel that it's a lot gentler. Coconut milk soap has even more fats in it than goat's milk soap. But here's another one I made recently.
Your designs are beautiful.
Thank you. And I get it, my art background comes into play there because I'm mixing colors and making patterns.
So do you plan to sell these soaps or give them away as gifts, or will there eventually be a William Basic Fine Soap Gallery somewhere in town? What are your plans?
Well, I have sold hundreds of bars of soap already. It's a very important point is if you're even going to make soap and give it away, you need insurance. And I do have a soaper's insurance. Because people, this is all safe. I've been very, very, very careful about the calculations. But if someone gets a rash, when I do sell the soaps, I use coconut oil, I use hazelnut oil. So if someone has a severe nut allergy, they need to be alert to that. But yeah, I've sold. I have a Facebook page, Willbee Naturals, WILLBEE, one word. I have an Instagram page. I have a TikTok page, and I put videos of making the soaps and creating the patterns and mixing the colors. This all comes into my old, you know me, Mark. My background is in clay and ceramics, and this craft background. I'm definitely tapping into that well of creativity.
I think it's kind of a unique hobby and a craft. I mean, we just finished a weekend of Paradise City Arts Festival, but maybe someday down the road there'll be a soap festival, or I've seen them at farmers markets. I've seen some soap people that make soaps and things like that. But you're really starting to build a side business here that is almost as time consuming as running your gallery.
Well, it's a hobby that I love to do. It does take a lot of time, but if I'm sitting in front of the television watching a junky TV show, I'm also making myself feel less guilty by wrapping the soap or creating labels or just getting them ready. And I have been fortunate. I've sold a lot of them, and I gotta get them out there.
What blend of soap of oils and fragrance has been the most popular one that you've made to date?
The goat's milk. This is a rose goat's milk soap, and there's actually rose petals from my garden.
Hold it up again. Hold it up again so people can see it. That's gorgeous.
And there's some rose petals on the top there. This one's been very popular. This is a very rustic bar of soap, but it's the yellow is organic spirulina. The green is the green is organic spirulina. The yellow is organic turmeric, and those are poppy seeds, organic poppy seeds. So it has a nice kind of scratchy exfoliating quality, and that one's been very popular too.
Yeah.
And here's a cool looking one. This is cucumber melon soap, and this is made from coconut milk.
From coconut milk. Where do you get your cucumbers and your coconut milk and things like that?
The coconut milk I buy at the co-op, that's organic, and all of the oils and butters, like cocoa butter, shea butter, I buy from large soap making supply places. That's the kind of thing you don't want to just buy on Amazon where you don't really know exactly what you're getting. These things are to put on your bodies and they're to wash off, but I'm very careful about the ingredients that I use.
Yeah, and you mentioned using turmeric, which is a root similar to ginger that people say have all kinds of health properties. And it also turns, when you're cooking with it, it turns your rice, for example, a bright yellow. It's really a cool herb. So the turmeric soaps must be bright yellow.
Yeah, it's this deep gold color. The top here is turmeric. I'm using it as a colorant. When you make soap, you have to be very, very careful to not make health benefit claims about the soap. I'm using the turmeric as a colorant. Turmeric has been claimed to have very great health benefits, but if you start making those claims when you sell your soap, you're in a whole different category, and you have to be very, very, very careful about making those claims. So the ingredients I use are just for aesthetics, not for any specific health benefits.
But when you use a soap like that has turmeric in it, does it change the color of your skin, or does it just wash off after when you hit the rinse cycle?
It's a wash off product. Some of the soaps I make, like the black in this, I've made all black soaps, and that's made with activated bamboo charcoal. And if you were the all black soap, it will turn your washcloth dark. So the black soaps you want to rinse off very, very well, but everything is made to wash off.
So in your daily life, do you switch off soaps every day? You have so many different varieties. Is that one your Monday soap and your Tuesday soap and your Wednesday soap, or do you work it through until the bar is gone?
I save when you're cutting a loaf of soap, you frequently have a little extra batter, so I'll pour the batter into a little test mold, and those are for me. I keep the extras or the end cuts I'll use for myself, but I do have a few of my own personal favorites.
Oh, so what are one or two of the ones that you've made that you've liked the most?
I really like the turmeric and sage one. I like scratchy exfoliating soaps, and I really like the goat's milk. This is a nice lavender soap, and there's lavender blossoms on the top there. This one behaves really well in the shower too. It just it's kind of a luxurious feeling. The suds are very nice and conditioning.
And there's something about the smell of lavender. I mean, you can't say any health claims about it, but it sure smells nice.
Yeah, they use lavender for aromatherapy and in hospitals because it is a very soothing. I did read on a blog that people don't like lavender because it reminds them of their grandmother's house, but I found people feel just the opposite. They love the smell, and it's a nice, reassuring, calming smell. Yeah,
I went to high school and up in Northfield, and there was a farm on the campus, and they grew lavender, and they still harvest it every year. But first of all, when you see it growing in a field full of purple, it's a beautiful sight. But when the breeze hits it, the scent is unforgettable.
Oh yeah. It's nice. It's a nice, I don't use, when I do the calculations for the fragrances, I always add on the very low end of the recommended percentage.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break to acknowledge the underwriters that make this program possible. Before we do, where can people learn more about your soap?
Thanks for asking. I have a Facebook page, Will Be Naturals, WILLBEE Naturals. Instagram, same thing. And TikTok, same thing.
Okay. Peter Coles is our chief engineer this morning. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. We're going to acknowledge the underwriters that make this kind of programming possible. We'll be back to talk more with Will Basic, so don't go away.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Bess Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at betsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to On the Mark, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer this morning. We're chatting with Will Basic from the William Basic Fine Arts Gallery, who in his day job curates exhibits from some of our region's finest artists, and after work is creating all kinds of soaps and stuff, a hobby that's turning into a second career. So, Will, we got to ask you, what's going on at the gallery while you're making soap?
Well, right now we have an exciting show up by Boston playwright, actor, performer, musician, and painter Ryan Landry. Ryan is the owner and director of the Gold Dust Orphans in Boston. He has a show up called Hollywood Nights. That's an homage to old vintage Hollywood, paintings of movie stars and starlets that has a lot of nostalgia, a lot of love for the craft, and a little bit of irony and camp. And then up next, we have two international artists, El Gato Chimney from Milan, Italy, and Chi Yoshi from Japan, who now lives in Los Angeles.
Sounds like it's a busy schedule at the gallery. And I know that the exhibit you have with Ryan Landry's art has it's been all over social media. So now that people are going out and about more, are people showing up in droves at the gallery?
You know, the gallery in general is a slow business. It's not like a coffee shop where we need 200 people a day to walk in the store. We get anywhere from 2 to 60 people a day. On weekends, we get 50, 60 people in the gallery. But an art gallery is by nature a somewhat quiet business. So it's deceiving. It can feel slow, but, you know, even if we get 10 people in and 2 of them buy a painting, then, success is measured in different ways.
Yeah. Are people out and about again in Northampton? I mean, things seem to be opening up, and restaurants seem to be fuller. Or at least there's a whole street that's blocked off with outdoor eating and seating for restaurants, and it seems to be packed with people.
On weekends, it's very busy. Northampton has a mandatory mask mandate, and people are being good about that. You need to have a mask to come into the gallery. We had an opening reception for Ryan's show, and we did not do proof of vaccination, but we did ask, and all the doors were wide open, and there weren't that many people tended to congregate out front, outdoors instead of inside the gallery.
Yeah. Do you think things, are there signs that things are going to get back to some form of new normal this year? Do you feel confident?
I don't know if anybody I feel hopeful.
Yeah.
People, it's going to be a combination of Northampton creating an environment where people feel welcome and safe walking down the streets. It's going to take, the restaurants are struggling mightily to get bodies in the chairs. And the face of retail across the world is changing because of online shopping. So it's things have changed so much in the 25 years since I opened. I used to rely exclusively on people walking in the door, looking at a show and buying something. And now without, 80% of my sales are internet. Most of the paintings that I sell, I never meet the people who buy them.
In a way, that's a convenience for you as a seller, but it's kind of a disconnect from the person that's buying the art and where the art's going.
In a way, I mean, although a lot of the artists that I show do exhibit internationally, so we just shipped a painting to London by Travis Louis. That person knows Travis's work from seeing his paintings in a show in Italy. So they have seen physical work by that artist in person before, so they feel comfortable enough when they see a good high quality photograph of it online, or if I send them high resolution images, they feel comfortable enough to make the purchase.
Yeah. Between the gallery and the soap, when are you going to get time off and go someplace? I mean, we're getting towards winter months. Can you take your soap making wherever you want?
No, I have a big setup in the basement with a sink and refrigerator and all of the oils and and all of it. I have about 20 bottles of fragrance oils. I have this is the pigments. I have like 20, 30 jars of that, and then the oils take up a lot of space.
So that's something you can only do in one spot at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, the lye is caustic, and you need to wear goggles and rubber gloves, and you need to, lye is, Drano is lye. So you got to handle it very carefully and use it. The dogs are not allowed anywhere near the basement when I'm making lye, because they hear the pots and pans clinging and they see the spatulas, and of course they think food. So they're not allowed downstairs when I'm making soap.
Exactly. So at some point down the road, if somebody says, well, I love the fragrance of rose, will you create a soap for somebody, or will there be an individual that will inspire a line of soaps?
Oh yeah, people, I get messages on Facebook where people say, I want to buy some, and I will say, what do you like? And just as importantly, I say, what do you not like? Peppermint is a fragrance that people either love or don't love. And so just as important as them making requests about things that they prefer, it's also interesting and necessary for me to know things that they don't like.
Yeah.
Particularly fragrances. People are funny about fragrances.
I'm sure they are. And people will end up having their very own particular likes and dislikes.
Yeah. Yeah, what's that called when you make something exactly for bespoke? A bespoke.
A bespoke, yeah. I just you see other people particularly with fragrances and perfumes, where somebody will have, like Elizabeth Taylor had that fragrance, that white diamonds or whatever. I don't know what it ever smelled like, or whether she actually just loaned her name to it, or whether she helped create it. But down the road, there could be celebrity soaps.
Well, the soap makers that I watch on YouTube, you look at a painting and you can tell an artist's style in their paintings. You can look at a painting and know who made it. And it's interesting because I've watched enough soap making videos. You bring that same aesthetic to making your soaps. And I found that as I've just been learning, I am gravitating towards certain colors, towards certain patterns, and I am developing an aesthetic, so like a signature soap. So eventually I will have a few maybe 10 different soaps that are my own.
That's great. Well, we're out of time, but good luck with the soap making.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm going to
Thank
go
you.
look on Facebook when I'm done taping programs today and check out more of your work. We've been chatting
drop by. I'll give you a bar of soap to take home with you.
How fabulous. We've been chatting with Will Baczek from William Baczek Fine Arts in Northampton, who on the side is a soap maker. And this wraps up a program on the Mark. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer today. If you missed a part of today's program or want to catch it again, go to WSKB Community Radio's YouTube page. We'll catch you next week with another edition of On the Mark.
How's your garden? Growing. Mine too. So dependable. Gardens go on growing. Yes, indeed they do. I tell you, I love vegetables. It's true. I love them too. Plant a radish, get a radish, never any doubt. That's why I love vegetables, you know what you're about. Plant a turnip, get a turnip, maybe you'll get two. That's why I love vegetables, you know that they'll come through. They're dependable, they're befriendable, they're the best pal a parent's ever known. While with children, it's bewildering. You don't know until the seed is nearly grown just what you've sown. So plant a carrot, get a carrot, not a Brussels sprout. That's why I love vegetables, you know what you're about. Life is merry if it's very vegetarian. A man who plants a garden is a very happy man. Hey, plant a beanstalk, get a beanstalk just the same as Jack. Then if you don't like it, you can always take it back. But if your issue doesn't kiss you, then I wish you luck. For once you planted children, you're absolutely stuck. Every turnip green, every kidney bean, every plant grows according to the plot. While with progeny, it's hodgepodgeny. For as soon as you think you know what kind you've got, it's what they're not. So plant the cabbage, get a cabbage, not a sauerkraut. That's why I love vegetables, you know what you're about. Life is merry if it's very vegetarian.